What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel, Pete's Carport. If you haven't been tuning in, we got the 1967 Mercedes 200D Fintail running, and today what we're gonna do is mess around with the cooling system, the belts, the radiator, make sure everything is fully functioning before we move on. And if you didn't notice in the last video, the clutch fan was not on there and the belt was not on there, so those were removed as the gentleman before me was working on the car to make it a little safer getting down in there. I wanted to put them back on today, see how they worked. Now, if you're not familiar with how these engines work, your water pump is actually right here. He planned on replacing that, and I went to take it off, and it looked like it was functioning great because it started to pour out coolant. It was nice bright green coolant in there. So I bolted it back up, decided to clean the fan down a little bit, put the fan back on here, which is a little bit of a task to get in there to get those. There's 4 bolts on this particular one. Now, if you've ever owned one of these cars or ever looked any of these parts up, there are several versions of the water pump, some without the clutch fan, some with the clutch fan, due to the fact that I think some are manual and there's different versions of this motor as well. And today we're going to find out if the radiator holds coolant. We're going to basically make sure everything is flowing good and that this car is going to be cooled down. And also, we're also going to be testing to see if the alternator and battery and everything is functioning right so that we're getting charged to the battery. And also, I wanted to fill you guys in. I picked up a welder from Harbor Freight. So very soon coming up, we're going to have a video on how to weld floor pans in using a $100 welder from Harbor Freight. So that's going to be an awesome video. Hopefully can prove to you guys I've never welded before, but it can be done at almost at no cost. So let's get started on this. I'll set you guys up and we'll go from here. Alright guys, so got the cooling system filled up. I had the car started. I've got some awesome news about that, but I've got some bad news about the cooling. As you can see, it's pretty empty. So it's not the water pump from what I see. In fact, most of it seems to be functioning great. But inside the vehicle, let me see if I can get a good angle for you to see. There's, well, let me show you where it leads into. So one of the lines that leads right here into the vehicle is leaking somewhere underneath the dash, which could be a big pain in the ass to get to. And you can see all down here how wet it is because it's basically coming from up under there. You can see it dripping right now. And my guess, just a cracked pipe. I don't know how easy it is to get to, but that's going to be the next thing I'm going to work on. Also, was playing around with the clutch, found a leak in one of the hose lines, replaced that. It was just a little hose line up underneath the reservoir here. But I don't think the slave cylinder and master cylinder are working. I ordered in a slave cylinder, thinking that I was ordering in what goes up underneath the clutch pedal here. But that is actually listed, I think, as the clutch master cylinder. If you can see that device right there, it's a little bit longer. And what I ordered in goes up under the transmission, much smaller as you can tell from this box. So it's just a little piece, and this came in yesterday, so I was actually excited about installing it, but you can see this is a much smaller piece. But it's probably good that I'm going to replace all of this anyways, if we can get this thing running and we can, get it into gear and so forth. That's going to be one of the next steps. Now, on to the really good news is I can now start the vehicle from inside the car. And so I still have some things I got to do to show you guys that. But basically, the your salt shaker glower here works. And I do not have a key. This is the strange part. I believe somebody locked up the ignition in the start position because it's on number 2. I even got like a screwdriver in there, got it so that it can turn a little bit back and forth, but the key does not work in it at all. You can't get the key in whatsoever, and from what I understand, it is the right key. But the cool thing is, you can start it, the lights work, the gauges work. I can see the gas gauge went up as soon as I got it started. The actually, I can probably show you that right now if I put the power back on here. Let me just see where that went. Okay, so I've got the main power back on and our ground on. So if I show you inside the vehicle, this is really cool. If you look right up on the dash there, you've got that lit up. And you can see if, let me see if I can get the glow to come on, the salt shaker glower to come on, but you can see all the gauges here. They're not functioning right now, but let me see if I'm able to pull the starter here to kind of show you. As you can see, the starter will try to turn over, and once everything's started up, you'll see the gas gauge works. Actually, that might be functioning right now. The temperature gauge was going up. Obviously, we were losing temperature. Oil pressure gauge was up. So everything seems to be functioning, which is really awesome. And the lights work. The if I can put the emergency lights on here to show you. Emergency lights work. I don't think it shows anything on the dash when I actually turn. Oh, you can hear something's wrong with the windshield wipers, but you can hear the motor going, which is really cool. So it might just be a disconnected rod or something. But yeah, so kind of cool. Everything seems to be functioning on the dash. Obviously the radio is not working. There's a whole bunch of cables down here loose. You can still see that coolant just dripping and leak pouring completely out. So that's obviously the main issue with the cooling system, and I'll have to look at that as soon as I can. But we got pretty far, guys. We're able to start the car from inside now, which is freaking awesome. Our next step is going to be figuring out that cooling system, getting the clutch working, and hopefully being able to get this to a shop on a lift and get the brakes done. So guys, once again, my name's Pete. This is Pete's Carport. This is a 1967 Mercedes 200D Fintail. Awesome car. Hopefully we can bring this thing back to at least being able to drive. Have a great day, guys, and Merry Christmas.